right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Wait a minute, Jess. What are we talking, Pompeani's in Baltimore? That doesn't make sense. Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We do it every single night of the week, and all you have to do is call 412-575-2600. Get your thoughts in. I'm joined tonight, as always, on Tuesday by Andrew Fillipponi up at 93.7 The Fan. What about that Pompeani's moving down there? Andrew, come on, man. This is something sacred to Pittsburgh. You're going to Baltimore?
Well, I'd like for it to give them bad luck in their playoff game on Saturday against Houston. I'll be pulling for the Texans and C.J. Stroud to continue. Baltimore really have not had a lot of success in the playoffs in a long time, Bob. They've won one playoff game in the Lamar Jackson era. That was against Tennessee, and that's it. So we'll see if they can get playoff win number 2 as a big favorite in that game. I like the points, as a matter of fact, with Houston getting more than a touchdown.
That's a lot.
In Baltimore. I think they'll keep it close.
That's a lot of points, and I'm surprised it's that high given the way Houston played and dismantled Cleveland. But then again, Baltimore is a different team at home, and they've been up against some of the best in the NFL and have blown some teams away, so I can understand that a little bit. Anyway, let's talk about here. Today was locker cleanup day, and everyone talked, with one exception that I noticed, and that was Kenny Pickett. He is a captain. I was surprised. I did not see any interview or comments from him at all. And be honest, disappointing for someone not to address the media on the final day, because I doubt there'll be another opportunity to talk to him for quite some time. But the big topic was Mike Tomlin. Again, based on national reports that were fueled by people like Adam Schefter and specifically Jay Glazer, who has a different relationship with Tomlin, it talked about him walking away. And a question was asked by Brooke Pryor, which I thought was a fair question. All these coaches were asked that question yesterday. And he walked it off, which made a lot of people think, what was the motive there?
Well, Bob, I think I want to make a key distinction here. The more I've thought about this, guys like Nick Sirianni and Mike McCarthy were asked questions about getting fired, meaning the teams did not want them any longer because they thought they were better off or could be better off without those guys. Tomlin was being asked a question, or was about to be asked a question, about whether or not he wants to coach anymore, his passion for football, his desire to be a coach, his love for...
The only thing that Brooke got out of her mouth was, hey, you have 1 year left on a contract.
Well,
and it was never
you're
a completed
right, but we
thought.
knew... But I agree, but we know where that was going. There are reports out there that you want to take a break.
Okay, but where
That's
were they
where
coming
that was going to go.
What was the genesis of the report?
No, Bob, I agree with you on that. All I'm saying is, from Mike Tomlin's perspective, that's more insulting than, hey, a team wants to fire you, because it questions whether or not he still likes being a coach or still wants to be a coach, about the desire to do a job. That's why I think he walked off in a huff, because he thought that was like an insult or an affront to him as a football man, a football lifer, a football guy. That's how I interpreted that. And I think that we heard, look, you just played Cam Hayward's comments. Don't you think he took it the same exact way? This guy has never talked about how he wants to go into TV or wants to take time off. And yet, because of those whatever leaks, insider information, you're right, it came from credible places. But I think that's why Tomlin acted like he was so put off by it, because it was like, do you care about coaching anymore? Are you interested in coaching anymore? I think that's what really lit a fire under him.
Maybe so, or maybe it was calculated too. I don't know. I really don't, because normally I've worked with Mike a long time, and I have a lot of respect for his ability to answer any question at any time. And he's always deflected stuff that he doesn't want to talk about. There's a way to do it and a way not to. And I don't know if I'd go that deep into it, Andrew. I'd still like to know why. Just because.
Well, Bob, you just did, though. But hold on, you just did go deep in it because you said it was calculated.
I know.
So if it's calculated, then it is deep.
Was it? I don't know that. I'm asking the question.
Well, you said last night you thought it was calculated. That was your theory last night. You changed your mind.
No, I'm saying I brought it up like, is that a possibility? I don't know the answer. Do you? I don't know. You're reading.
Well,
you're making your conclusions the same way I would be.
I thought it was calculated.
No.
Well, right. That's what we're paid to do.
Okay, but
we're paid to give our opinions on these things. I think it was calculated.
All I'm saying is that he's handled every sort of question. He's as glib and as smart as anyone. I know. I see how he handles things. So that was a little strange to me. Anyway, we heard what we heard, and I got to believe there's going to be a press conference this week at some point. We'll get more information there. And we talked a lot, so we got to go to a break. And on that note, I want to remind you can call us at 412-575-2600. We have a lot of people on the line right now. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We do it live 7 nights a week on KDKA+, and a lot of the nights simulcast on 93.7 The Fan. All right, our GMC Sierra tweet of the night comes from Mike Garofalo. This happened right after players met today publicly, and in a team meeting today, Mike Tomlin told Steelers players speculation about him stepping away is unfounded, and he plans on coaching the team in 2024. Tomlin, who's entering the final year of his contract, expected to address the media this week, as we said. And the big question is, there's going to be an extension, but I also think, Andrew, one of the things that has to be worked out is who hires the offensive coordinator. Mike Tomlin has always taken care of his staff, and that's something that I know they let him do. But you got to wonder, he was also the guy who brought in Matt Canada and had to relieve him of the duties. How much input would others say on that, and what direction do they go? I think that's a big position to have right now, and it's the one glaring opening at this point.
Yeah, and that's why the news that Tomlin's going to come back has me concerned, because I see a quarterback issue and I see an offensive coordinator problem. And the offensive coordinator issues, he has not done well with. Randy Fiegner and Matt Canada were his two hires. I happen to think Art Rooney had a lot of say in Todd Haley, but that was a very long time ago, and Mike Tomlin was a much younger man, and even though he had won a Super Bowl, he was much less proven. He was in his 30s. Harder to argue on your behalf and tell the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers what's what when you only have 4 or 5 years on a job compared to 17. So I don't know about that, Bob, if that's going to be an owner call or a coach call. I wouldn't trust the coach to make that call. And as far as the quarterbacks go, the last 2 quarterbacks they've attempted to develop, who they've drafted to replace Ben Roethlisberger, Mason Rudolph, they buried him on the depth chart. They didn't handle him right from the very beginning. And Kenny Pickett, who you mentioned, stormed out of there today and didn't want to talk to reporters. Maybe he took a cue from Mike Tomlin last night when he did that. So that's what scares me right now. He's got to get the offense right, and they've got glaring holes at offensive coordinator and quarterback at the moment.
I have this tweet here from Dylan, who asked the question, guys, what do you think about the quarterback room? Who will be back? Who will be gone? Who will they bring in? Do you think Justin Fields or, now this is a name that I don't know that I think is going to be available at all, and that would be Russell Wilson would be involved. First of all,
well, he's going to be available, but I don't think the Steelers will want him.
No, I don't either. I think they're going to bring Kenny Pickett back, and they should. He is the number 1 pick, and they should. And then it's up to Mason Rudolph to decide what he wants to do based on whatever they offer him. And then after that, you can draft someone. There are going to be a lot of people you can draft, and they're going to pick in the same general area. And with so many good quarterbacks, you never know who's available. But I'd be intrigued at least to find out what Chicago would want for Justin Fields. Would you?
Well, yeah, and I know Mike Tomlin has a lot of respect and has a big appreciation for Justin Fields' game. At least he did coming out of Ohio State. So unless things have changed there, we know Tomlin used to be a Justin Fields guy. I'd be interested, but again, Bob, you need to build the right offense around the guy, because the offense he had in Chicago was a disaster. They didn't win a lot of games with him. His passing stats were not very good. I mean, you look at his passing touchdowns there. We're talking about Kenny Pickett type of numbers. Great rushing quarterback, but are they going to want to build an offense that centers around the quarterback using his legs and being a runner? Maybe Mike Tomlin wants that, but can they execute that? So these are things that need to be straightened out. Kenny Pickett will be back next year, but Bob, if it's Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, and I thought Mason looked like either a borderline NFL starting quarterback or high-end backup with the way he played the last few games. If it's Pickett and Rudolph, that will be one of the worst quarterback rooms in the entire NFL going into next season, especially the AFC, when you look at the quarterbacks that other AFC teams have.
Which is why I think investigating someone like Justin Fields, and listen, I watch guys who sometimes take a little longer. All we had to do is look at Baker Mayfield. He had 3 teams last year. Nobody seemed to want him. He goes to Tampa, and all of a sudden now he's going to cash in big time. Anyway, let's go to our number 1 Cochrane Go One Better caller of the night. We're going to begin tonight with Sam in New Bethlehem. Hey, Sam, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, first, I want to compliment both of you for your insights and your honesty. I want to make a couple comments with regards to Mike Tomlin, get your reaction. the media loves Mike Tomlin. They talk over and over again how he's gone 17 seasons without a losing record. But yeah, they never mentioned that the Steelers have gone 7 years in a row without making the playoffs.
I think people mention that.
I mean, this is unreal. So, are we going to be satisfied with mediocrity, or do we expect something more?
Well, and the record has not been good. I think it's 3-9 in the last 12 playoff games. And Andrew, you had a good tweet out there. I think it was you who came up with a 66-0 in the first quarter of these 5 losses in the playoffs. I mean, that is just unacceptable, isn't it? I mean, you can't start every game like this. And yesterday, it was 21-0 before the Steelers finally figured out how to, get in the end zone. And it was late in the first half, only after a blocked field goal.
Yeah, these playoff games have all pretty much looked the same. And that's the other distressing thing, is that they get so far behind, they have to fight like heck to get back into the games, and it's too little too late. And it happens over and over again. And this game was no different. And there's a lot of different reasons why. I think a big part of it is their defense goes from possibly great to below average when you subtract one guy. And that is proof that TJ Watt is the defensive player of the year. But you also shouldn't be so reliant on one player defensively where that happens. But we see it all the time with this team. 1-6 last year, 1-11 overall. And it's not just all about not having a good quarterback, Bob, or franchise quarterback. Their defense in 9 of 10 Mike Tomlin playoff losses have given up 29 points or more.
Yeah, crazy number, isn't it? I mean, and especially most of that damage happens early in the game when, you look at some of these final scores, you'll see 47, 42, or whatever. Sounds like it's close. It's not close. Most of these games have been decided by halftime, and it's just, ugly yardage at the end of it. Let's go back to the lines, Andrew. We have Joe in McKees Rocks. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Hello, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. For 2 years, I was wondering about our punter. Can you tell me where is he at as average on the NFL scene?
Well, below. He hasn't been consistent enough. This guy was a Ray Guy winner in college, and he looked to have a booming leg. And when he does boom it, he has a lot of leg. But again, you got to be consistent, and you have to get, when you're called upon to pin a team deep, he really hasn't done a good job with that, Andrew.
I've heard one of the most ridiculous justifications for keeping him around. And if it really is this hard, well then I'm just stunned by it. I've heard people that are special teams experts, one of them I know personally, say, watch how good he is on holds, that he makes Boswell a better kicker. And that's one of the reasons why Mike Tomlin tolerates what a bad punter he is. Bob, if that's true, then we've really exaggerated the difficulty of getting a snap down and making it suitable for a kicker on a field goal or extra point attempt. But someone who's literally worked in the NFL and special teams told me that when I was ripping Presley Harvin to shreds last night, that he's one of the best holders in the NFL. Holders now.
Well, listen, I understand the importance of that, but that's not his primary job. You got to do that, but you better be able to, switch field positions. And so, too many times that did not happen. And, if you had to do it over, seeing some of these punts, you'd end up going for it on fourth down instead of punting because the exchange hasn't been all that good. So, bottom line is they got a lot of work to do in this offseason. There are a lot of free agents out there. Some of them are on the defensive side, a guy like Quan Alexander. I wonder what Pat Peterson will do for one more year. There are a lot of guys you have to wonder about. Cam Hayward, as much as I appreciate how long he's been in this game and how he plays this game and how he plays through injury, he is getting up there in age too, and it's not easy, especially the position he plays.
No, there's a lot of wear and tear, but I still want him back just at a reduced price. That's hard, though, to ask somebody in their 30s who's given so much to a team to play for less money, but Ben did that at the end, and I would expect that Hayward, who said today he doesn't want to play for another team, to do the same, Bob. Bigger problems for me up front. Ogunjobi, and I said this from day one, why did they give him so much money? What a ripoff that deal was. $10 million a year. They didn't come anywhere close to getting their money's worth. And another guy on the defensive line, Bob, DeMarvin Leal.
Yeah, scratched.
Where has that guy been? That's a third-round pick.
And
who
he
can't
was
even get a
trending in
helmet
the
on
right
game
direction.
day.
He was trending at training camp. Mike Tomlin was talking him up. He was really thinking he was going to have a big year. And so did many people based on what he did last year. And, to be a healthy scratch when they need help in that department is really not encouraging at all. We got to go to a break, Andrew. We'll do it. Come back with more. It's 412-575-2600. Nightly Sports Call brought to you by Ireland Contracting continues right here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. And Ken?
Hey, Bob. Meteorologist Ray Petland tracking some really frigid temperatures, and wait till you hear these wind chills overnight and into tomorrow. Also, how schools decide between remote learning and snow days. Some people in a local borough say their votes for council were never counted. All coming up at 11, Bob. See you in a few minutes.
All right, Ken, thanks very much. Meantime, that weather is heading to Buffalo again. They're expecting a foot or two of snow. Temperatures when they play this weekend in Kansas City. This is interesting to me, Andrew, because Kansas City under Patrick Mahomes has never had to go on the road for a playoff game, and they're going to go. They know cold weather. They just were in it. But the fact that it's in Buffalo makes it very intriguing for me.
Oh, it definitely does, because he's played 16 games at home at Arrowhead during the playoffs, comfy, cozy there at that stadium, and now he's going to have to go into Buffalo where, let's face it, Josh Allen played a game that was pretty much mistake-free, almost an interception on that throw he had to put over Cam Hayward, but other than that, pretty much a flawless game. And, Bob, all week I heard Steelers fans tell me, Josh Allen's going to turn the ball over and lose the game. They were making him sound like he was Mitch Trubisky. And I thought, didn't you feel that way? I mean, I thought Steelers fans had lost their minds. They almost made it sound like they preferred Mason Rudolph to Josh Allen in this game. It was very bizarre, the way that he was being criticized by Steelers fans. It was nuts.
Well, the one thing he can do is make a turnover or two and then come back and just rip you apart in the second half like he did against Miami. Real quick, a couple of basketball scores in. Boy, I thought Duquesne had two games against Dayton, a sellout, and tonight against Richmond at home. I was expecting wins in both. They needed signature wins. They lost a close one, 63-61, highlights at 11. And then Pitt, man, 1-5 in conference play. Syracuse, your team, Andrew, beat them tonight pretty handily.
I was at that game. Neither team is good, by the way, but Pitt can't shoot. Pitt's one of the worst. Bub Carrington had 0 points tonight.
Yeah, he's kind of had problems.
Brick after brick.
Yep.
And their big men have regressed. The Twins and Federico. Bob, they're going to be lucky to win 5 games in ACC play. They have really taken a colossal step backwards.
And I did not see that. Andrew, always a pleasure. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, have a good night. And thank you guys out there for joining us. We're back here tomorrow and every night, as I said, 7 nights a week, 10:35 for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Good night.